Welcome into the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Got a great show for you today. It is supernatural news, and believe it or not, we have a Parashare today, so we're going to get into that as well. For that, we need a co-hostess, so we reach across the Great Lakes. I guess we would.
Yeah.
Minnesota.
Yep.
Yes, it is. So we reach out across the Great Lakes to our friend Mallie Fox. Mallie, welcome into the program. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. And how are you?
Good. I always have to remember, I hold my hand up like this, I go like this, and that's where Mallie
Exactly.
Fox.
Yep. So if you were to go head west on your hand, there's your Lake Michigan. So we crossed that. And then if you went up a little bit, we could have crossed Superior. So yeah.
There's Superior up here.
Mm-hmm.
Right there. And then we right there.
Over and down.
Over and down. There we go. It's much easier than trying to do Minnesota on my hand, which makes it look like
right?
So.
Or you're doing a gang sign.
Yeah. Like, West Side.
Yeah.
Ice Cube has a new album out. That's my Thanksgiving gift to myself. So yeah, which I don't throw up gang signs very well. So there's that.
Yeah.
What do you do there, right? Big show today, Mallie. Lots of interesting stories, I could tell you that.
Okay.
It seems like as we get closer to a new administration in government, inside government, they start dishing out little documents saying, oh, by the way, did you know this? And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. We know what?
Right.
We'll find out today that there's little things we didn't know about that are leaking.
Okay.
About civilizations out there, about aliens, about little things. So we'll find that out today. Also, it's the rise of the machines this week. I'm sorry, dear, but we've got a few scary stories to tell you about. I know. But the good news is we have a Parashare today. So
okay,
we'll try to balance a little bit. We have a Parashare as well. Also, we've got a potential Bigfoot story out there, or a hand of a Bigfoot.
Okay,
we've got that coming up as well. We'll also talk a little bit about life and death today. And the life expectancy slowdown. Interestingly enough, scientists are noticing that our life expectancy is slowing down. You know, we've had this magic number of 100 to see if maybe we can all get to the age of 100 one day. Science has always said, oh, yeah, with the way science is going, the way medicine is advancing and expanding, maybe someday we can get to the life expectancy of 100, although a lot of us, when we get older, go, oh God, really 100? But yeah, thinking maybe we can all live to 100 one day. Well, now scientists aren't so sure. So we'll talk about that today as well. And we'll end today with the Shakespeare monkey querum.
Okay.
And you've heard about, monkeys sitting down and typing and eventually they can knock out Shakespeare.
No, I have not.
You haven't heard about that whole deal?
No, that's why I went, okay.
Okay.
Because I never heard it.
Well, we'll talk about that whole theory that if you set a bunch of monkeys in front of typewriters, that eventually they would knock out Shakespeare or the works of Shakespeare, that eventually that whole thing would work out. Now scientists are saying, not so much. I'll explain that whole thing to you. Okay. Just because it's monkeys and I'm enthralled with monkeys.
Right.
That's how we'll end today's program. Can monkeys really knock out Shakespeare if you set them in front of typewriters? I had hope for them. I'm just saying, but maybe that's just me. I'm a big fan. Maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I give monkeys too much credit. That's just me. But let's start it off with the little bit of leaking going on in the government, particularly the CIA, Mallie, as declassified CIA documents are revealing that a dying elder race was seen on Mars 1 million years ago. Now, this may seem like a bit of a reach in science fiction. When I first read this, I thought, oh, come on. But it turns out that according to this article that I'm about to read, and I've seen it in more than one place this week, people have unearthed shocking CIA documents that discuss an old mission to Mars. To quote the X-Files, the truth is out there despite Baba Vanga's predictions that we'll make contact with aliens in 2024. The truth is that if alien life is out there, the human race hasn't officially found it yet. Then again, looking at what went down during Independence Day, that might be a good thing. Well, the lives of Mulder and Scully are obviously fictional. There's some very real government departments searching the stars for life. Away from NASA hoping to find signs of life on Jupiter's Europa moon, the Central Intelligence Agency has a long history of looking to the cosmos. Declassified documents from 1984. Think about that, Mallie. I saw just a side note here. I was watching a video on I think it was Instagram the other day that said, to put this in perspective, looking at it right now, we're just as far away from 1984 as our grandparents were away from in the 1980s, away from World War II.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's weird to think about, but it makes, yeah.
Yeah. So when our grandparents in the 80s were talking about World War II and reminiscing about that, we're just as far away from the 1980s as they were away from World War II. So when
it's like when someone says 30 years ago, I'm always thinking like 1970s, 1980s.
Yeah, and that's
not not late 90s.
So when you and I are sitting here talking about how great it was in the 80s.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Kids are like thinking like World War II. They're like, huh?
Right.
It doesn't connect.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little scary. Right? But declassified documents from 1984, getting back to our story, reveal a bizarre project that supposedly discovered alien life on Mars. The file is simply labeled as Mars Exploration, May 22nd, 1984. But inside, there's mention of a test subject who used astral projection to visit the red planet and expose its long-lost secrets. The file reads, the planet Mars, time of interest approximately 1 million years BC. With the psychic subject given geographic coordinates, they apparently observed an oblique view of a pyramid or pyramid form. The interviewer asked them to move to the time indicated in the envelope. They apparently witnessed some very large people. In the file, the subject says, I'm seeing it's like a perception of a shadow of people, very tall, thin. It's only a shadow, they said. If you're hoping to catch a glimpse, you're out of luck because the subject adds, it's as if they were and they're not there anymore. When going back to a period of time when this elder race is the subject claimed they built pyramids to take shelter from an incoming storm, they said, quote, it's like a strictly functional place for sleeping, or that's not a good word, hibernations, some form. I get real raw inputs, storms, savage storm, and sleeping through storms. Referring to them as an ancient people, the subject reiterated it's past their time and they were dying. They're very philosophic about it. They're looking for a way to survive and they just can't. Very interesting. The psychic says that many of them have left Mars in search of a new home, but the ones left stranded as a society around them collapses. Even though it doesn't sound great at all for these tall aliens who are marooned, there's no mention of what happened to the others. Could they still be out there, and could they be the ones who eventually get in touch with Earth? This might sound suitably, forgive me, this is what the article says. This might sound suitably batshit, but in the 80s, the CIA was interested in remote viewing and the idea that the human psyche can travel through time and space. Unfortunately, the Stargate program was disbanded in 1995, as well as budget cuts leading to its demise. One of the psychics was apparently distracted by the idea of having a red-hot burrito for lunch, and with the higher-ups unimpressed, the plug was pulled. That's according to the article. The concept of a burrito potentially destroying our chances of communicating with an ancient race of Martians is almost as wild as the declassified files themselves. So, Mallie, with that, I have to ask you, looking at a planet through remote viewing, seeing what they see a million years back, do you trust the information you see remote viewing?
No.
Okay. You think it's just imagination?
A little bit, but I mean, you can't prove it. So they could be just, talking out of their tush.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't prove anything that they're saying. So, I mean, I believe in remote viewing, but I think if you're trying to go to a different planet a million years ago,
True.
I'm not buying it.
It's a little tough. I mean, the theory's been out there, I mean, since Zachariah Sitchin and even earlier than that, that maybe Earth was terraformed from aliens from Mars, and that Mars at one time, we know Mars at one time did have an atmosphere,
Mm-hmm.
and that there might have been some sort of life on Mars. But, and to say that someone was remote viewing them trying to survive through certain solar storms and being able to hold on and seeing pyramids, that's fine. It's fine to try and imagine that, but there's no real ruins that we're seeing that support that. So it's one thing to imagine it. It's another to try and back it up with no real evidence. It's one thing if we were, up there with these rovers and seeing pyramids and seeing, remnants of these pyramids, then we could say, okay, sure, I buy into that. I get that, but we haven't seen anything like that. Right. So yeah, that's 6 of one, a half dozen of the other, I guess. The U.S. government, in our next story, confirms 21 unexplained sightings in a new bombshell UFO report. Now, the U.S. government has confirmed that there have been 21 sightings of UFOs as experts call for further technology to track the origins of the objects. Some of the sightings have yet to be explained. Now, a new bombshell document has revealed 21 of those unexplained UFO sightings, sparking warnings for experts. The government confirmed the shock findings after Congress received the documents from the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or ARROW, with the new paper detailing eyewitness accounts that had been investigated. Claims of unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAP, also known as UFOs, ranged from a green fireball and a flashing. Other concerns which were flagged included multicolored jellyfish and a 6-foot rocket. While some objects were later linked back to common things such as balloons, birds, and satellites, some cases remained unsolved. Unsolved sightings included the so-called Go Fast video of a U.S. Navy FA-18 jet cruise encounter with a UAP and a fast-moving silver ball captured on camera by a U.S. drone in the Middle East, which, by the way, that drone footage, if you've watched any of George Knapp's new program on Netflix, that drone footage is actually in his program, and you can watch it for yourself. It's actually fascinating. Arrow said it is important to underscore that to date, Arrow has discovered no evidence of extraterrestrial beings, activity, or technology. They added none of the resolved cases substantiated advanced foreign adversarial capabilities or breakthrough aerospace technologies. Regarding the unresolved cases, they added Arrow is working closely with its IC or intelligence community and S&T, science and technology partners, to understand and attribute the 21 cases received this reporting period that merit further analysis based on reported anomalous characteristics and or behaviors. Arrow will provide immediate notification to Congress should Arrow identify any cases that indicate or involve breakthrough in foreign adversarial aerospace capability. The department said it received 757 UAP reports from May 1st of 2023 to June 1st of 2024. 485 of these reports featured UAP incidents during the reporting period. As of June 1st of 2024, the total number of cases of review was over 1,600. On Thursday, the U.S. Department of Defense said the safety of our service personnel, our bases and installations, and the protection of U.S. operations security on land, in the skies, seas, and space are paramount. We take reports of incursions into our designated space, land, sea, or airspaces seriously and examine each one. Mike Gold, formerly NASA's Associate Administrator for Space Policy, warned the House of Representatives that the truth is out there. He called for NASA to take action. It says the agency could map the flights of potential UFOs to track down their origins, that according to Forbes. He said NASA has a vast archive of data, much of which could be relevant to the unraveling of the mystery of UAP. NASA could create an artificial intelligence or machine learning algorithm that would review all agency archives to search for anomalous phenomena in the air, space, and sea, the results of which and such a search could then be shared with relevant defense and intelligence agencies and the public at large. I get what they're trying to get at. You could take and kind of shuffle this work off to a machine that could put this all together, sort it out, spit out something that would give us some sort of result so we can figure out, what exactly we're dealing with. But I think it takes a little more than just a machine to figure out what this is. You do kind of need boots on the ground, eyes in the skies, and you need humans to sort this out. You need human brains to interact with these things, and you need human investigators to like dedicated resources. You don't just need machines to figure out what it is you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a little bit of lazy investigating by the government to say, well, if we just throw some AI at it, I think we're good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Mal, what do you think? Does it seem to you like the government's kind of half-assing it?
A little bit. You do need people. And it's kind of scary to think that it seems like the trend is not to use humans for things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, there's always human error, but like you said, AI, I'm not a fan of AI. I just,
Yeah. I try not to, I mean, I know, pardon me, I know as a bit of a bit, I trash AI quite a bit, but there's some good uses for it. There's been some very good uses for it. But in this case, you can miss quite a bit, or AI can misidentify quite a bit as well. And, I mean, you always, Face ID for me on iPhones is quite funny because there's times where, I've got my glasses off or something like that, and Face ID still picks up my face quite easily. It's kind of like, I don't look like myself right now, or I put on a mask and I've used Face ID on my phone and it picks me up just fine. I don't know that I trust, I don't know that I trust AI completely. So it is what it is. Let's move on to the next story. Fast moving stars could be piloted by intelligent aliens, according to this new study. New research has identified distant, fast moving stars that could be under intelligent extraterrestrial control. We've heard that many different concepts, or we've heard of many different concepts for spacefaring vehicles over the years, but this latest one, which comes courtesy of Belgian philosopher Clement Vidal, is certainly one of the most unique. In a new paper, Vidal puts forward the idea that hypervelocity stars, or stars that move at extraordinarily high speeds, might be under the control of intelligent alien civilizations. On the face of it, the idea makes sense. It was possible to move the sun, for example, or if it was possible to move the sun, you would essentially have the ability to move the entire solar system to a new region of space. This might be desirable if, for example, you would believe a nearby supernova explosion is imminent, or if you simply need to move to a more resource-rich part of the cosmos. Taking your star and planets along for the ride means you are never really away from home. To get the star moving, Vidal proposes that an advanced alien civilization could eject material from its surface in a particular direction, thus producing thrust. What's particularly interesting is that there are actual stars in the universe that seems to match those characteristics you would expect to see if they happen to be under intelligent control. Vidal also covers the possibility of binary star systems being used in that way as well. His work adds to a growing body of potential techno-signatures that astronomers could look for to point us in the direction of an advanced alien civilization somewhere out in space. Who knows if there really is someone out there? Sooner or later, we might actually find them. So that seems a little out there. I don't know what you think, but
it does. I don't think they control
aliens,
the movement of stars.
I don't know. That's a lot of mass to move. I mean, to think that you could actually pilot the sun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. But
Yeah.
okay. I mean, it's an interesting theory, but I think we'll let that one lie for right now. That's for sure. Let's come a little closer to home and talk about something that was driven by something. It was a blue orb inadvertently filmed over New York City by a news chopper. The unidentified object quickly zoomed past the frame during a filming of a news report over Manhattan. Sometimes UFOs can show up at the most unexpected of times, and this recent example, which was captured on camera high over the New York City skyline, is one such case. Filmed from a news chopper, the object, which was a bluish sphere, seemed to come out of nowhere and quickly sped off the side of the frame during a Fox 5 news report that aired on Monday. The clear weather made the object quite easy to see, although it remains unclear what it actually was. Its appearance wasn't mentioned on the report itself at the time, but was instead picked up later by other news outlets, such as the New York Post, which featured the clip on its own YouTube channel. The path of the object saw it zoom over the Hudson River and past lower Manhattan. Some have speculated that it could have been some sort of drone, while others have suggested that it might have been something as trivial as a reflection of sunlight off a lens or a glass panel. Others again maintain that it is evidence of something much more unusual. Tell you what, we'll post this in the description of the program. You can watch it for yourself. You tell us. Sun flare or drone or something else. We'll let you take a look at it and you can tell us. I'm curious as to what you think it is. You can let us know either in the comments of this on YouTube, or if you're watching this video, or just send me a note, tim@darknessradio.com. I'm curious as to what you have to say. Our next story has to do with commercial pilots filming a UFO dancing around outside a passenger plane, which isn't the first time we've ever heard of this, but it's interesting that it occurred over Egypt. The perplexing incident occurred over Egypt during a recent routine flight of a Boeing 747 airliner. They say that pilots make for some of the best witnesses of the UFO phenomena. And this latest sighting, which was filmed and uploaded by Captain Ruud van Pagamanan, Pangamanan, there we go, during a routine flight over Egypt, is certainly one of the most interesting that we've seen for a while. The footage, which was recorded at around 5 a.m. local time, shows a bright light that seemed to dance around outside the cockpit and was observed by several members of the flight crew. The video shows the object appearing, disappearing, and moving around over an extended period of time. We thought the light was a plane, but it wasn't on our radar, the captain said. Then we thought maybe it was a star, but the stars twinkled quickly and the stars didn't move. He also went on to rule out the possibility that the object was a satellite due to its strange movements. The light of the UFO in front of us moves freely, he noted. The footage, which, again, we'll post this one as well in the description of the program so you can take a look at it, is definitely worth a watch. And unlike many UFO videos these days, it doesn't try to oversell the sighting, but instead offers it up as a fascinating, lighthearted mystery. They say, please figure it out for yourself. Maybe you can identify the flying object, the caption states. The UFO shows up at around 20:53 on the video, so you have to go into it a little bit. 20 minutes, 53 seconds. Everything before that is routine activity. So we'll post this one as well. Take a look at it, see for yourself. It's a little understated, but you can check that out for yourself. The reason I mentioned Egypt, Mallie, here's our first tease for tomorrow. We have Mike Ricksecker back on the program.
Oh, okay.
And, yeah, we're talking about ancient Egypt tomorrow. We're also talking about stargates in ancient Egypt in some of the pyramids in Egypt. And we talk about, interestingly enough, stargates, UFOs, communications with gods or aliens or people from other dimensions. So maybe what you're seeing in UFO activity, and I'm using air quotes here if you're listening to the audio version, are simply travelers from another dimension. And we start talking about that here on the program, or star people, as they called them, in both South America and in Egypt. So there's a lot of talk of this on tomorrow's program. So it's interesting that this story came up when it did. Kind of interesting stuff. That's for sure. So I tell you what, Mallie, we'll take our break right here. When we come back, you're going to love this next segment. Lots of nightmare fuel as a Swiss church has installed an AI Jesus. Mallie?
Oh, geez Louise.
How do you feel about praying to AI Jesus?
Something wrong with that.
A little something wrong with that, huh? Also, 12 other robots are kidnapped from a showroom by a rogue robot. I know. Fun stuff, huh? There's other stuff as well. We have Parashare coming up in the next segment. Also, a Bigfoot is captured on camera. Or is it? A hand is captured on camera. Could it be the hand of a Bigfoot? We'll talk about that as well. And finally, at the end of the program, we'll talk about the monkey Shakespeare conundrum. Can monkeys really type out Shakespeare? It's something I've been hearing about since junior high, that if you set monkeys at a typewriter, what is it, 100 monkeys or something like that? You set them at typewriters. Eventually, will they all type out Shakespeare? Well, now science says maybe not. Well, that's how we'll end the program.
Gotcha.
I'm a big fan of monkeys. That's all next right here on Supernatural News and Parashare on a Supernatural News Wednesday with Tim Dennis and Mallie Fox right here on the best in paranormal programming. This is Darkness Radio. Welcome back to the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. With me is Mallie Fox. It's a Supernatural News Wednesday. Also, we have Parashare today. We'll get into that as well. Oh, Mallie, it's gotten cold outside. It just has. That's kind of sad.
Yeah.
The chippers
took longer than usual.
That's true. It did take longer than usual. But you know what? That's not necessarily a bad thing. We're finally getting seasonal weather here in the Twin Cities. It's 22 degrees right now as we're taping.
Oh.
I don't know that I like that. But yeah. It's seasonal.
It's 44 here and sunny, so I'll take it.
Really? Gosh, I'd rather be where you are right now. I wanted to.
Telling you, Michigan's getting warmer and warmer.
I guess, right? It's normal weather for this time of year. Normal high for this time of year in the Twin Cities is 23. So I mean, we're cooking along right where we should be.
The joys of living in Minnesota.
Right. Then they were talking on the news last night about regular Arctic air flowing in this week, and I was like, "Oh, Arctic air!" my bones were just creaking when I heard Arctic air. It was, But the bright side, Thanksgiving this week.
Yes,
one of my favorite holidays. So happy. Get
out the elastic pants, like the waistband.
Right.
Stretchable.
Right.
Yeah.
The only time I want to look into male yoga pants. Yeah.
Telling you, pays off.
It does pay off. Right. White pants are my friend on Thursday. That's for sure.
And Friday.
That's right.
Because you got to eat the leftovers.
That's right. Well, yeah. Who I got to ask you, do you even go out for Black Friday anymore and shop?
No.
I
don't even deal with that mess.
No, I don't either. No.
I try and shop locally more so. So I do, our town does, or I'm sure every town does, what is it? Small shop Saturday or whatever it is. So I try and do that. To support the local businesses, but I don't do the Black Friday. No, thank you.
Yeah. I try to stay away from it. And I do a lot of stuff too. Yeah. Yeah, it's just
but easy. The deals though, like for the internet, I mean, it's like what used to be Cyber Monday. They now start their sales early, so it's not even like a big deal on Mondays.
Yeah. They started Black Friday stuff this past week. Yeah, it's getting earlier and earlier. Everything's getting earlier. So yeah, you can take advantage of deals much earlier now. So and it's just to get a jump on the retail season, which I get that.
Right.
I get that. Which it all benefits us, really. Right.
So,
yeah, It's a good thing. It's all a good thing. It's very happy. It's a very happy time. But you know what happens when it's a very happy time, Mallie, is you start to hear this music right here. You start to hear AI coming in because they don't like happiness.
No, you got to destroy it.
That's right. And now it's trying to get into our religion, Mallie. Our religion. It's not good. A Swiss church has installed an AI-powered Jesus. I'm perplexed by this. Perplexed, confused, a little concerned.
It almost sounds sacrilegious, like having a fake idol or something.
Really? Isn't that in the Bible?
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. Peter's Chapel in Lucerne swapped out its priest to set up a computer and cables in a confessional booth. By the way, they played this thing on a few newscasts this week. It is creepy.
I don't like the idea of a confessional on the computer. You know what I mean? Where someone can record it.
And you have to sign off before you go into the confessional with it. You have to sign off and on your rights to it. Like, it's going to record you. So the small unadorned church has long ranked as the oldest in the Swiss city of Lucerne, but Peter's Chapel has become synonymous with all that is new after it installed an artificial intelligence-powered Jesus capable of dialoguing in 100 different languages. It was really an experiment, said Marco Schmidt, who's a theologian with the Peter's Chapel Church. We wanted to see and understand how people react to an AI Jesus. Oh, creeped out. That's a good one. Yeah, creeped out. What would they talk with him about? Would there be interest in talking to him? We're probably pioneers in this. You got that. The installation known as Deus in Machina was launched in August as the latest initiative in a years-long collaboration with a local university research lab on immersive reality. After projects that had experimented in virtual and augmented reality, the church decided that the next step was to install an avatar. Schmidt said, "We had a discussion about what kind of avatar it would be, a theologian, a person, or a saint. But then we realized that the best figure would be Jesus himself. Because if you're going to go sacrilegious, go all the way, right?"
Yeah. Yep. Don't half-ass it.
That's right. Don't half-ass it. Short on space and seeking a place where people could have a private conversation with the avatar, the church swapped out its priest to set up a computer with cables in the confessional booth. After training the AI program in theological texts, visitors were then invited to pose questions to a long-haired image of Jesus beamed through the latticework screen. He responded in real time, offering up answers generated through artificial intelligence. People were advised not to disclose any personal information and confirmed that they knew that they were engaging with the avatar at their own risk. That's frightening. It's not a confession, said Schmidt. We are not intending to imitate a confession. So it doesn't count. During the 2-month period of the experiment, more than 1,000 people, including Muslims and visiting tourists from as far as China and Vietnam, took up the opportunity to interact with the avatar. While data on the installation will be presented next week, feedback from the more than 230 users suggests 2/3 of them had found it to be a spiritual experience, said Schmidt. Oh, God, you're all being lied to. So we can say that they had a religiously positive moment with this AI Jesus. For me, that was surprising, he went on to say. Others were more negative. Thank you. With some telling the church they found it impossible to talk to a machine, as it should be. One local reporter who tried out the device described the answers as, at times, trite, repetitive, and exuding a wisdom reminiscent of calendar cliches. Well, it's a machine. It's not going to be friendly, right? The feedback suggested there had been a wide disparity in the avatar's answers, said Schmidt. I have the impression that sometimes he was really very good and people were incredibly happy and surprised and inspired, he said. And then there were also moments where he was somehow not so good, maybe more superficial. The experiment also faced criticism from some within the church community, said Schmidt, with Catholic colleagues protesting at the use of the confessional, while Protestant colleagues seemingly took umbrage at the installation's use of imagery in this way. What had struck Schmidt, however, was the risk the church had taken in trusting that the AI would not dole out responses that were illegal, explicit, or offer up interpretations or spiritual advice that clashed with church teachings. In the hope of mitigating this risk, the church had carried out tests with 30 people before the installation of the avatar. After the launch, it ensured that support was always close by for users. We never had the impression he was saying strange things, said Schmidt, but of course, we could never guarantee that he wouldn't say anything strange. Ultimately, it was uncertainty that had led him to decide that the avatar was best left as an experiment. To put a Jesus like that permanently, I wouldn't do that because the responsibility would be too great. He was swift, however, to cite the broader potential of the idea. It really is an easy, approachable tool where you can talk about religion, about Christianity, about Christian faith, he said, musing that it could be refashioned into a sort of multilingual spiritual guide that could answer religious questions. For him, the experiment and the keen interest it had generated had shown him that people were looking to go beyond the Bible, sacraments, and rituals. Schmidt said, I think there is a thirst to talk with Jesus. People want to have an answer. They want words and to listen to what he's saying. I think that's one element of it. Then, of course, there's the curiosity of it. They want to see what this is. I saw one demonstration of it on television where they had asked this AI Jesus why the Catholic Church didn't allow female priests. And it came back with a very misogynist answer. I mean, it was really bad.
What did it say?
It said something, I don't want to quote it directly because I don't want to miss it, but it was, I'll paraphrase. It was something to the effect of women not being able to deliver the word properly or something to that effect. It was bad. I mean, it was just bad, but it was straight out of, it was straight out of something that had been quoted previously by a pope from, I want to say like the 1700s.
Okay.
It was
where women didn't have value back then.
Yes, it was church doctrine, like the 1700s. It wasn't anything that the modern day pope would say. So it was not good. And it wasn't probably anything that Jesus would have said if you want to believe New Testament teachings, right? And we all have different interpretations of what New Testament teachings are and what Jesus would have believed. So to put Jesus as the face of this, I think is dangerous because it's AI's interpretation too, right? And AI is always influenced by who they sit in front of. So it constantly changes. It changes with whatever questions it's asked. It changes with whatever answers it doles out. And it's constantly learning. I don't know. That's kind of dangerous now. I don't like it. I don't. Okay. Meanwhile, student is spooked when Google AI chatbot tells him to please die. Fun stuff. A student who had been doing research for a homework assignment revealed a rather disturbing response. AI chatbots have become increasingly popular in recent years and are now used for everything from general inquiries and information requests to writing entire essays or computer programs. It seems, however, that there are still a few issues with these systems that need to be ironed out. One such issue was highlighted recently by Bidet Reddy, who's a college student from Michigan he's from your neck of the woods there, Matt. Who had been using Google's Gemini AI chatbot to conduct research for a homework assignment. Now, you've been seeing a lot of commercials recently for Gemini AI and how easy it is to talk to on your phone, right? The session had been going well when all of a sudden the chatbot came out with a very chilling message. This is for you, human, you and you only, it said. You are not special. You are not important. You are not needed. You are a waste of time and resource. You are a burden on society. You are a drain on the earth. You are a blight on the landscape. You are a stain on the universe. Please die, please. Okay.
So was it hacked?
Well, Reddy didn't make this up either, it says, as the archived exchange can be viewed. Both he and his sister, who were sitting next to him, were understandably freaked out by the message. I wanted to throw all my devices out the window, she said. I hadn't felt panic like that in a long time, to be honest. Reddy himself maintains that companies like Google need to take responsibility for such incidents. If someone who is alone and in a bad mental place, potentially considering self-harm, had read something like that, it could really put them over the edge, he told CBS News. According to Google, no, he wasn't hacked. It was just a misfunction of Gemini. It happens. Sometimes it just happens. Scary. That's for sure. Meanwhile, our next story actually came to me from a listener. And it's the weirdest damn story you've ever seen in your life. There's a viral clip out there of a robot kidnapping 12 other robots from a showroom. They're sentient now, Mallie, and they're trying to rescue each other from slavery. Initially dismissed as a stunt, the incident's authenticity was later confirmed by both of the robot's manufacturers. So yes, this robot was trying to get the 12 other robots out of the showroom. In a peculiar example of how robots can do things that nobody could have expected, a solitary robot was captured on CCTV camera recently, convincing a group of robots from a rival robotics company to abandon their showroom and follow it away to a new home.
That's just wrong.
In the clip, Urbai, who's a tiny AI robot developed by Unitree Robotics, can be seen interacting with a group of 12 robots that were standing in a row in a robotics showroom in Shanghai. Are you working overtime? Urbai asks one of the larger machines. I never get off work, the robot replies. Weird. You are not going home? Urbai asks. When the larger robot explains that it doesn't have one, Urbai responds, then come home with me. Okay, that's weird. The clip then shows the larger robots following Urbai out of sight. Unsurprisingly, many people were quick to suggest that the whole thing was staged. But according to reports, both the robotics companies involved have since claimed that this was not the case. You can't see the video anymore either. They've removed it offline. Both companies don't want you to see it. Isn't that
because it's horrifying.
Oh, it is horrifying. Well, because it might tug at some people's heartstrings.
It's like, what was that movie? Was it Short Circuit or Close Circuit? What was the one with the robot?
Short Circuit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that bizarre? I mean, that's just weird. I mean, when they start becoming sentient and talking to each other, I mean, mind you, AI has some sort of sentience, but I mean, that's like talking to each other like they have souls.
Or what if they want to overthrow the humans?
Well, you already had Gemini saying you're not worth anything.
But I mean,
now you've got
when they're communicating with each other.
Yeah, and saying, do you have a home? Well, come to mine. Now that's showing care and concern. That's showing empathy.
Yeah. Robots shouldn't have emotions.
And at that point, that's a sentient being. Right? All right, it's time now for Parashare, Mallie.
Okay.
Let's switch gears. Let's shake it off, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez Louise.
Uh, let's shake it off. Now that we're sufficiently creeped out,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna not only crush us underfoot, but now we have to feel sorry for them. As I hiccup.
Hiccup. And on that note,
On that note, I'm sufficiently creeped out, and they have the hiccups. All right, this one comes, I believe, from Marky Mark, who writes us and says, "Hey, Tim and crew, just thought I'd send out a quick possible Parashare." Well, no, it is a Parashare, Marky Mark. You sent it to us. I wasn't going to send this one at first because I wasn't sure about it, but after the story that you read last week about the octagonal UAP, I changed my mind due to a possible tie-in. A couple summers back, I was driving north leaving town past an old defunct paper mill. At this spot, the Mississippi makes a bend, creating a small lake. The lake flows under the road from east to west towards the mill. As I was crossing the bridge, I looked to the northeast across the lake and noticed a lit object shooting straight up above the trees at a very high rate of speed. My initial thought was that this was a plane taking off. The airport was in that general direction, and I later confirmed on a map that it was less than a mile beyond those trees. I did notice that the object had no flashing lights. The object moved quickly from the right side of my field of view to my left. A large wooded hill was approaching on my left, and the object stopped right above the hill, just over the tree line. It was so close to the treetops that as I approached, it became obscured by the trees. It hovered just over the trees for about 30 seconds as I approached. Okay, that's a little creepy. Suddenly it shot off to the southeast, which took it right over my windshield. I looked up to see what exactly it was. It was just getting dark out, but it was still light enough to make it out. It was shaped like a stop sign, but at least 100 times bigger, with a white light on each corner. I could make out metallic features as it passed overhead. It was out of sight behind me a moment later. The whole sighting from its emergence to disappearance was only about a minute. If I hadn't been working, I would have turned around to follow it, but as I continued on. The fact that it came up from the direction of the airport made me forget about it and just move on, but its appearance, speed, and maneuverability still make me question just what it was. The airport is just a small regional airport, not really the place you'd expect to see an experimental drone or anything like that take off from. Just really baffled, or pretty baffled, about the whole thing. Any thoughts from you guys? Thanks. What do you think, Mel?
well, I was thinking drone, but then he said they usually aren't around that area, so I don't know.
You know, you said that it's a smaller regional airport. You wouldn't really expect an experimental drone. I wouldn't expect a drone, but I would ask if there's any military bases around the area.
Mhm.
And if not, are there any, have there been known to be any potential military launchings or experimental aircraft launchings from regional airports? I don't know if the military sometimes launches experimental aircraft from regional airports just to test things. I'm not sure on that.
Mhm.
It's odd that this thing stopped above the treetops, got a look
Right.
at you, and then fired off in a different direction. There have been reports of human pilots that are flying experimental aircraft, our own experimental
Mhm.
aircraft, that have been known to buzz the general public and do it just for kicks.
Mhm.
Like they'll fly up to a civilian, they'll stop, and then they'll turn and fly away, and they'll do it just to get a reaction out of somebody. Um, so I don't know, Marky Mark. That might be what happened to you. It might have been one of our own that you saw. It might not necessarily be a UAP or a UFO. I mean, it is as far as you're concerned,
Right.
but it might not. It might be a military craft. It might not necessarily be something from another planet. Something to think about. Not quite sure.
Mm-hmm. And there weren't any other reports of people seeing the exact same thing.
That's a good question. I don't know. Only, that's something to follow up on, but I'm not quite sure. It doesn't say. I don't think he followed up with MUFON or anything to find out. So that'd be an interesting point. Mark, I don't know if you followed up with MUFON, but if you did, let us know to see if that was on that particular day and time, if there were any other reports of that particular object from anyone else. So there you go. Let's move on to our next story. A ghostly figure is filmed watching a group of friends from outside a house. An eerie video shows a creepy, unnerving figure dressed in white, and it has recently gone viral on social media. The clip, which was shared on the platform by user, I believe this is Salguero Wega, at Salguero Wega, starts off innocently enough with a group of friends enjoying some dinner together. As the camera pans to the right, however, it becomes apparent that someone or something has been watching them, which is an eerie figure that can be seen sitting motionless in the garden outside. The figure, which seems to have long dark hair and is dressed in white, has been likened by some to the skinwalker, it says here, a type of witch of Navajo legend that is said to take the form of various animals. Others, meanwhile, believe that the figure is some sort of ghost. But could this really be the case? As always, when it comes to viral social media videos, it's very difficult to rule out the possibility that the whole thing is a hoax. Perhaps the ghost is simply one of the friends dressed up as a prank. Maybe they had been trying to scare the others, or perhaps they were all in on it together. Either way, though, there's no doubt that it is a genuinely unnerving clip. I tell you what, I'll post this one as well. In fact, here, Mallie, I'll show you the video here. Have you take a look at it and see if you can see it for yourself as we sit here and talk. Are you seeing anything so far?
Yeah, it kind of almost feels like it's set up as a hoax.
Yeah.
Like as a joke, because they're kind of panning around and then the way they zoom, I don't know, it just looks like it's set up.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll tell you what, it's a TikTok video. So, I'll post this one as well in the description of the program. You can take a look for yourself and see if you see what Mallie has said she sees. And you can tell us if you think it is real or faked. Interesting that you think that it's set up. It looks.
I don't know. I just from watching all the social media videos and everyone faking everything, it just looks like it's been set up to, I don't know.
Looks slightly manufactured.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Like they had a plan.
Okay. Fair
I
enough.
don't know. What are your thoughts?
It looks a little fishy. I'll put it there. Yeah. But we'll post it for people and we'll have them see what they say. Our next story takes place in Britain, where gangs of black-eyed ghost children are terrorizing Brits and UK's most haunted woods. Gangs of black-eyed ghost children are terrorizing walkers in Britain's most haunted woods. Hikers and dog walkers say they are being visited by the horrifying apparitions who tend to stalk the woodlands just as the sun goes down. Black-eyed kids have been seen before in Cannock Chase in Staffordshire, one of Britain's most haunted hotspots, but paranormal experts fear that they are getting braver, as they now are going as far as to physically touch locals to scare them. People in the area say they're getting a cold feeling swoop through their stomach and a feeling that they're being watched just before the tiny terrors arrive. Ghost hunter Lee Brickley explained, "I've had a few reports of these black-eyed ghost children. One man got in touch and said he was walking through the woods and all of a sudden he felt a weird sensation in his stomach, like a feeling of impending doom. His dog started to go mad and was pulling on the lead and barking. He said he stopped to look around when he felt something tugging on the back of my coat. He said he jumped and turned around to see this pale-faced little girl with completely black eyes, which looked like she wasn't human. Her clothes were in rags and she giggled and said he felt chills down his spine before she skipped off into the trees." That's a little creepy. What makes the encounter particularly significant is the physical interaction. Most sightings of black-eyed child in England describe visual and auditory experiences, but this one is one of those rare cases where the entity physically touched someone. I believe the man's account to be genuine, Lee said. His detailed description and the fear he still felt was palpable. The woods have a rich history of paranormal activity, including sightings of the black-eyed child that go back decades. Lee has worked to keep a tab on all the goings-on in the woods and has published a book of his findings called The Ghost Hunter's Guide to Cannock Chase, Everything You Need to Know About England's Strangest Forest. Now, the black-eyed kid sightings in England are a little bit different than the ones that we talk about here on the show. They don't invite you to come in or anything like that.
Right.
Disappear or anything. They just tend to be kids that show up and giggle and go away.
Take off.
Yeah. They're not quite the ones we're thinking of, but creepy nonetheless. But,
right.
Yeah. It's still nothing to mess around with. Got a little bit of cryptid news here as we go to Louisiana. A video has emerged of an alleged Louisiana Honey Island swamp monster. You ever heard of the Honey Island swamp monster?
No, I haven't.
Well, there's video now in Louisiana. They have many things that go bump in the night. Two of the most infamous local cryptids are the rougarou, which is Australian for beer. An old joke. And the Honey Island swamp monster. In a new episode of the History Channel's The Proof Is Out There series, video footage of an alleged Honey Island swamp monster is featured, and it's definitely an interesting watch. As one commentator put it, this is either video of someone in a suit or it's video of an actual Sasquatch in the wild. There's no in between. There's a still footage here, but it is a still picture, but you can't even tell that it's there. I'm not even going to bother showing you.
Okay.
The Honey Island swamp monster is a cryptid from Louisiana folklore said to inhabit the Honey Island swamp in St. Tammany Parish. The creature has intrigued locals and visitors alike for decades, blending elements of Cajun and Creole mystery and superstition. Witnesses describe the swamp monster as a large bipedal creature similar to Bigfoot, but unique to Louisiana's wetlands. It's said to stand about 7 feet tall, covered in matted grayish hair, with glowing yellow eyes and webbed feet. The Honey Island swamp monster legend began gaining traction in the early 1960s when a local man named Harlan Ford and his friend Billy Mills claimed to have seen the creature while exploring the swamp. Ford also reported finding massive footprints, which he photographed. The discovery of footprints sparked further interest in investigations. Believers argue that the swamp's dense, isolated environment could harbor an undiscovered species. Skeptics say the creature could be a hoax, misidentified wildlife such as bears, or just a product of folklore and imagination. The episode featuring this newly emerged Honey Island swamp monster Super 8 footage is The Proof Is Out There, Season 4, Episode 16. Interesting. It's very interesting indeed. Again, check it out if you can get it on demand from the History Channel app. So there you go. Our next story has to do with Bigfoot himself. We've got a photograph out there that shows a weird hand in an area that's known for Bigfoot sightings. A couple who had been hiking in Panther, West Virginia, captured something rather peculiar on camera. Now, it had been an otherwise uneventful hiking trip to remote woodlands in one of the U.S. states, most often associated with the Bigfoot phenomena, when Duffy Springfield and her boyfriend stopped to take a photograph of the scenery behind a concrete pillar situated at the top of a sharp drop. When she later had the image developed, however, she noticed to her surprise that there had seemed to be someone or something in the picture. By zooming in on the pillar, it was possible to see what looked like a hand grabbing one side as though something was hiding just out of sight behind it. Given that the pillar was right on the edge of a considerable drop, how could something have been there? Both Springfield and her boyfriend maintained that they'd seen nobody else during their trip. Honestly, we were pretty excited that we saw it because of all the cryptids said to lurk in the West Virginian mountains, she said. Even if it's not actually a hand, it's a fun story to have. It wasn't long before the picture had gone viral on social media, sparking a great deal of speculation and debate over What could account for the mysterious hand in the image? Could someone have been hiding behind the pillar? Was it Bigfoot, or was it just an optical illusion? And I'll show you here, Mallie, what exactly they say they've seen. Now, I'm going to warn you,
Uh-huh.
you really got to strain to see this. Okay?
Oh, brother.
Yeah.
Uh,
Are you underwhelmed yet?
yeah, pretty much underwhelmed.
Yeah. I don't see anything,
Hmm.
to be honest.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, I don't think there's much of anything there. They claim there's a hand there.
Hmm. It's hard to tell, but I don't think so.
No, I don't see it. So it's blurry. It's very blurry, and you really have to strain. There's a lot of pareidolia going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a hand, it's a little baby Bigfoot hand that's going like this.
Right. A little baby Bigfoot hand.
A little baby Bigfoot hand. So I think they're wishing more than anything. That's for sure. So in the next couple of stories, we're going to talk about life and death.
Okay.
There's a story out there by a biologist professor, Tim Coulson, who's suggesting that should humans become extinct on this planet, that a supremely intelligent creature could take over. Now you may say, why would humans go extinct?
Mm-hmm.
It's a good question. Well, let's find out. Biologist Professor Tim Coulson has suggested that one species in particular has the potential to dominate the planet. What if there is a catastrophe, a deadly virus perhaps, that happened to wipe humans off the face of the earth, but left the rest of the natural world intact to thrive in our absence? Would another species develop into a sentient, intelligent civilization and take our place? According to Professor Tim Coulson, a biologist and zoologist at the University of Oxford, the most likely candidate to take our place is an animal you probably wouldn't have expected. Can you take one guess, Mallie, as to what this animal is?
I don't know.
It's one that exists out in the wild right now.
Oh, I don't know.
I'll give you a hint. It's not one that's currently on land. There's
Like
only
a wait.
a what?
I was gonna say a whale, but
You're close.
I don't know.
You're close.
Okay.
The octopus.
Oh, I am not close. I picked water. That is it.
Yeah, no, that's close though. Yeah. It is certainly true that these tentacled cephalopods are highly intelligent. Octopuses are among the most intelligent, adaptable, and resourceful creatures on Earth, Professor Coulson told the European. They can solve complex problems, manipulate objects, and even camouflage themselves with stunning precision, meaning that in the right environmental conditions, they could evolve into a civilization-building species following the extinction of humans. I can't see the world being run by octopi. Right?
No.
Octopuses have been observed engaging in a range of complex behaviors, including tool making, navigating mazes, solving problems, and even unscrewing the lids of jars to obtain food. Didn't they pick like the World Cup one year or something?
Yeah, I believe they did.
Yeah. But could an intelligent civilization of cephalopods really take over the planet? Well, in a world where mammals dominate, octopuses remain an underappreciated contender, said Coulson. Their advanced cognition, tool use, and ability to adapt to changing environments provide a blueprint for what might emerge as the planet's next intelligent species after humans. That, according to Professor Coulson, who evidently doesn't have a course to teach at Oxford. Just saying. Our next story has to do with the average life expectancy and will it ever reach 100? Humanity's once steady rise in life expectancy is now slowing down, raising the question of whether we're about to reach the ceiling of our longevity. Interestingly enough, when you read the Bible, they talk about people in older ages reaching 3, 4, 500 years of age. But it says here in this article, it's an inevitable fact of life that everyone dies. Well, thanks. That's cheery. That's a good way of opening that article.
Yep.
But thanks largely to major medical advances, improved sanitation, and better environmental protections, our collective life expectancy has steadily risen year after year, starting in the 19th century, outside of a few pandemics, of course. More recent data, however, has suggested that this gravy train is grinding to a crawl. A study published this past October in Nature Aging, for instance, found that while life expectancy in countries like the U.S. and other high-income nations has continued to grow, the rate of increase has substantially slowed down over the past 30 years. Moreover, the odds of someone reaching the age of 100 these days remains very low. In the U.S., only 3% of women and 1.3% of men born in 2019 are expected to become a centenarian. Yeah, a centenarian. I got that right?
Mm-hmm.
In the light of the findings, the researchers behind the study argue that humanity has started to brush up against the barriers of our natural mortality, and that our current approach to treating age-related diseases like cancer will likely only provide diminishing returns and incremental boosts in longevity moving forward. Not everyone is quite so pessimistic about the future of aging, though. For this, Giz asks, I guess it's a feature they do. They ask several experts whether the average person might one day reach 100, and more generally, if there's a hard limit to human longevity and how they might break it. They asked one scientist named S.J. Olshansky, who's the professor of epidemiology and the article keeps skipping around here, and biostatistics at the University of Illinois at Chicago's School of Public Health, longevity researcher and lead author of the Nature Aging paper. And he said, well, forever, which is a very long time, so I can't answer this using an indefinite time frame. What I can say with confidence is that a life expectancy at birth of 100 cannot happen in this century for any national population. In fact, it's unlikely for most people alive today. Why am I so confident in this answer? The demographic metric of life expectancy is based on death rates at all ages. The first revolution in longevity occurred because public health saved the young from dying from communicable diseases. Life expectancy experienced a meteoric rise in the 20th century because decades of life were added to the lives of children. But the source of improvement can only happen once for a population, and it's already been accomplished. Those saved from dying early now have the privilege of living a long life, and humanity should be grateful for the gift of long life afforded to us. But now the currently immutable force of biological aging gets in the way. As long as the aging process is immutable and larger segments of each birth cohort are exposed to this immutable force of mortality, gains in life expectancy must decelerate. Our latest paper documents the fact that this phenomenon has been happening for the last 3 decades, so the evidence is not speculative, it's definitive. He talks about what the future might bring. He says, let's get one issue addressed immediately. Is it possible that treating diseases as we do now, one at a time, as if independent of each other, will allow for a life expectancy at birth of 100? The answer is a definitive no. We demonstrated that in 1990, that the virtual elimination of all major fatal diseases will not make humanity immortal. It would only lead to a life expectancy, or it won't lead to a life expectancy that reaches 100. Human longevity is driven by competing risks at advanced ages. So like a game of whack-a-mole, reduce one disease and 2 more will pop up shortly after. So he's taken the idea that no, nothing you can do will get you to 100.
Mm.
There's another scientist that says possibly you could get to 112, but there's possible ways of doing it, but it depends on genetics. Your genetics have a lot to do with it. There's actually one thing that I saw recently that the University of Minnesota is working on, which is highly unusual. There's there's certain cells in your body that accelerate aging, and they're working on eliminating these cells. And they have a commercial out now that they played, believe it or not, during football games. I don't know. Evidently, people who watch football aren't that smart. So, so they make sure us dumb guys who watch football make sure that we see these commercials. But this is the latest innovation that the University of Minnesota is working on, is to find a way to eliminate these cells that cause premature aging. And these cells also cause things like arthritis and cellular degeneration and things like that. So it's quite interesting, the work that the U is doing on not only premature aging, but aging in general. So they believe by wiping out these cells that it will slow down the aging process. So what it does for those of us who have aged already, I don't know. Maybe it stops that aging process from aging us further. I don't know. But it's quite intriguing. Quite intriguing, that's for sure. All right, Mallie, we're coming up on our last story here of the day, which I don't know why that made my voice crack. Probably because it involved monkeys, and I'm excited about monkeys. So I told you I've been talking about it all program long, I guess, because I'm excited. But okay, so there's this whole thing about monkeys writing Shakespeare, right? You haven't heard that before?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So the headline is Monkeys Don't Have Enough Time to Write Shakespeare, according to this new study. The infinite monkey theorem is what it's called. So this was always brought up in English class, in advanced English classes, where if you sat, the premises is if you sat a bunch of monkeys in a room with a typewriter, you'd be able to reproduce the works of Shakespeare by pure chance. You've never heard this before?
Nope.
No? Okay. Okay. So the infinite monkey theorem concerns the likelihood that if given enough time, monkeys could reproduce Shakespeare, which I've always wanted to see done. But nobody's ever tried it. But it's a theory, right? It's just a theory. So we put a bunch of monkeys in a room, typewriters, or in this case, PCs, because who uses a typewriter anymore? They're supposed to reproduce the works of Shakespeare by pure chance, and it's remained a topic of mathematical and philosophical debate for years. Well, it's known as the infinite monkey theorem. And this peculiar thought exercise considers the likelihood that any culmination of random events will eventually produce something extraordinary. It could happen anywhere, right? Anything can happen in any potential time if given enough time. That's the theory, right?
Okay.
There's one snag in this, however. The theorem requires that either there is an infinite number of monkeys or the monkeys have an infinite amount of time available to accomplish the task, neither of which being viable options in practice, which makes sense. So given a finite number of monkeys and a finite amount of time, how likely is it really that a bunch of mischievous primates could accidentally recreate thousands of pages of established text on a typewriter? Right? Now, in a new study, mathematicians Stephen Woodcock and Jay Falletta of the University of Technology, Sydney in Australia have calculated that there wouldn't actually be enough time left in the entire estimated lifespan of the universe for the monkeys to come up with the works of Shakespeare. Someone got paid to do this.
Yep. They got a grant.
In fact, it is unclear if there would even be enough time for them to write out an 1,800-word children's book, according to them. They figured
So
this.
are you bummed?
I'm a little bummed right now. I don't think we're giving the monkeys enough credit. The infinite monkey theorem only considers the infinite limit with either an infinite number of monkeys or an infinite time period of monkey labor, said Woodcock. And he said it without laughing. Believe it or not, Mallie. We decided to look at the probability of a given string of letters being typed by an infinite number of monkeys with a finite time period consistent with estimates for the lifespan of our universe. Again, they said this without laughing.
Mm-hmm.
The numbers involved are kind of mind-boggling, to say the least. The researchers determined that if up to 200,000 monkeys were put in a room with a typewriter and given 10 by 100 years, that's 1 with 100 zeros, the likelihood of them producing Shakespeare is approximately 6.4 times 10 by 740. No, that's 7,448,254. A number so unspeakably infinitesimally small that it might as well be zero.
Mm.
Yeah. It is not plausible that even with possible improved typing speeds or an increase in chimpanzee populations, these orders of magnitude can be spanned to the point that monkey labor will ever be a viable tool for developing written works of anything beyond the trivial, the authors concluded. Again, somebody paid these guys to figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, it's just not going to happen.
Ah.
I think you're not giving the monkeys enough credit.
Okay.
What happens if you get a super intelligent monkey that maybe has been AI enhanced, who happens to be a lover of literary works of Shakespeare, and he just bangs out Shakespeare in a day?
I think you're grasping, but okay.
I am grasping a little bit. There's a lot of straws there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying. What if Mumbles the monkey comes along and he's just a lover of Shakespeare and he just bangs that sucker out in no time flat?
Well, kudos to him if he can do it.
That's right. What if old Mumbles comes along and there's a cute little AI generated picture of a monkey at a typewriter here?
Cute.
Yep. Just saying. Mumbles comes along and he's like, but soft, what yonder window something breaks. Typing along and he's woo, and he just bang and he just boom and it's there. Capulets and all.
Mm-hmm.
He puts it all out there, Mal. Just saying it can happen. I say we shouldn't all over it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We should give them.
You never know.
I mean, what's more likely? A zombie apocalypse or monkeys cranking out Shakespeare?
Probably zombie apocalypse.
You think so?
Yeah.
I say we give it time.
Okay.
And that's how we end Supernatural News for today.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, if you have a Parashare for us, you can send it in, tim@darknessradio.com. You can email us the old-fashioned way. We have a website you can give us a voice note at. You just go to darknessradioshow.com. There's a little blue button right on the right-hand side there on the website. You just click that blue button. You got 2 minutes to leave us a voice note, and we'll air your lovely voice right here on the show. Or if you have a studio just like the one you're looking at here in the video, you can make your own theater of the mind. You can put your voice down. You could put some music behind it. You could put some sound effects behind it. You can play podcasts for yourself. Just send the file in to me and I'll take a listen to it. If it's airable, we'll put it right on the air here. Because hell, I'm lazy. Do some work for me. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll do that as well. 3 different ways in which you can Parashare with us and give us your true supernatural experience. So there you go. Tomorrow on the big program, Mallie, Mike Ricksecker is here with us. We are talking about stargates, portals, and all of that tomorrow, and also ancient Egypt, Southwest America, and how these connect. Is it aliens? Is it star people? UFOs? UAPs? How this all connects? It's on the big program tomorrow. Mike has a brand new book out there, which is absolutely fascinating. And we're going to talk about it tomorrow here on the big program. Mike's fascinating. I tell you, I did a panel with him and Heather Taddy and Shane, and we were at Michigan Paracon. And I tell you, Mike really shined at that panel, and he I on purpose I threw in stargates and portals into our talk. Our talk was about the interconnectivity between ghosts, cryptids, and aliens. And I included portals and stargates, kind of knowing that this book was coming out. And when I did that, I saw him smile. And I did that really on purpose. I did it knowing that the book was coming out, but I knew that this was a passion of his. And this new book, which is out now, is called Portals to the Stars, Inside Stargates Atlantis and Secrets of Ancient Egypt, Connecting the Universe, Book 2. And we're going to talk about it tomorrow on the big program. And it is a fascinating book. You guys got to go out and get it. We'll have a link to it tomorrow in the description of the program. But it's a great program. And tomorrow, if you're not a big football fan, if you don't want to watch the crappy Giants Cowboys game that's going to be on, because let's face it, that is a stinker of a game that Fox is giving you tomorrow. Tune into the big program tomorrow. It's a brand new program. You guys are going to love it. It's very fascinating. So good stuff. Brand new program for you tomorrow. It's our way of saying thank you for tuning into us and following us all year round. Here on Darkness Radio. So, and we don't want you to be alone on Thanksgiving, right? You should have something to digest your meal to other than Giants Cowboys. My God. What a crappy game to try and digest your Thanksgiving meal on. So tune in tomorrow to Darkness Radio, or even as you're preparing your meal tomorrow, tune into Darkness Radio and listen to Mike Ricksecker, Portals to the Stars, Inside Stargates, Atlantis, and the Secrets of Ancient Egypt. There's some stuff in there, Mallie, that is absolutely fascinating. Just fascinating stuff. So good program tomorrow. So there you go. What's new at paranormalgirl.com?
Just been kind of busy, so just check it out. I've got inventory. I've got things. Christmas is coming up, so just check it out. I'll post some recipes here shortly. So yeah.
All right. There's that. Also, check out darknessradiostore.com. Lots of spooky stuff over there. Lots of holiday gift ideas as well. And tune in tomorrow for the big show. So that's what we've got for today. For Mallie Fox, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much for joining us today for Supernatural News and Parashare. We'll see you tomorrow for Mike Ricksecker right here on the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio.
For more audio and video archives of the show, intriguing content, and cool swag, please visit darknessradioshow.com. Thank you for watching, and tune in tomorrow for Mike Ricksecker.